Owen Mitchell's morning ride along his Montana Creek should have been routine. Instead, he found a desperate woman drinking from the water, barefoot and terrified, a fugitive wanted for murdering a tribal council member. Every instinct told him to call the police, but when she looked at him with exhausted, honest eyes and said, "I'm innocent, but they'll kill me before I can prove it," something made him pause. Within 48 hours, he'd be breaking into her ransacked apartment, confronting corrupt officials, and betting his entire life on evidence that could either free her or destroy them both. The news called her dangerous. Owen was about to discover the real danger came from those who framed her. Owen Mitchell guided his horse along the fence line of his Montana ranch, checking for winter damage the April thaw might have exposed. At 51, he'd worked this land for 3 decades. The creek that cut through his property ran high with snowmelt from the Beartooth Mountains. That's when he saw her. A woman crouched at the water's edge, drinking from cupped hands. Her long black hair hung wet, and even from 30 yards away, Owen could see she was exhausted. She wore torn clothes, feet bare despite the cold water. When his horse nickered, she spun around, eyes wide with panic. She bolted. "Wait," Owen called, dismounting. "I'm not going to hurt you." She stopped at the tree line, breathing hard. Up close, Owen could see the cuts on her feet, the bruises on her arms, the hollow exhaustion in her eyes. This woman had been running for days. "You're on private property," he said calmly, "but you're hurt. Let me help." "You don't know who I am," she said, her voice hoarse. "Should I?" She laughed bitterly. "Turn on the news. They're calling me a murderer." Owen felt his stomach drop. He'd heard something on the radio yesterday, a woman from the Crow Reservation wanted in connection with the death of a tribal council member. "Did you do it?" Owen asked directly. She met his eyes. "No, but they'll kill me before I can prove it." Something in her voice made Owen believe her. He'd spent his life reading animals, knowing when they were scared versus threatening. This woman was terrified, but not of him. "Come up to the house," Owen said. "Get cleaned up, get some food. Then tell me what really happened. Why would you help me? Because I've lived long enough to know that the truth isn't always what they tell you on the news." Aria Whitehorse sat in Owen's kitchen, hands wrapped around coffee, feet bandaged. She'd showered, eaten, and now faced the harder task, explaining why an innocent woman was running for her life. "I worked as a financial administrator for the tribal council," she began. 3 months ago I noticed discrepancies. Money designated for programs and infrastructure, millions disappearing into accounts I couldn't trace. I documented everything, made copies to present to the Bureau of Indian Affairs. Owen listened without interrupting. Thomas Redcrow, the council treasurer, cornered me, told me if I said anything I'd regret it. 2 weeks ago, he was found dead in his office, single gunshot. The gun was registered to my brother, Lucas, who died 6 months earlier. They found my fingerprints, security footage of me entering that night. The tribal police issued a warrant within hours. "You were framed," Owen said flatly. "Perfectly. They used my brother's death, my building access, my knowledge of the corruption, made me look like a whistleblower who turned violent." Owen paced his kitchen. "Who's powerful enough to orchestrate this?" "Richard Calloway. He runs the largest construction company in the county. For 15 years, every major reservation contract goes to him. I found payments from tribal accounts to shell companies he controls. He's been embezzling federal funds. Thomas discovered I knew, so Calloway killed him and framed me." "You have proof?" "Flash drives with bank statements, emails, contracts. I hid them in my apartment before I ran. But the tribal police searched my place." "They'd destroy the evidence," Owen finished. "We need to get those drives." "It's too dangerous." "They're watching, they're looking for you," Owen interrupted, "not for a 50-year-old white rancher." Aria stared at him. "You'd risk that?" Owen thought about his late wife, Sarah, who'd spent her life teaching on the reservation, fighting for justice. Sarah would have done it in a heartbeat, he said. Guess some of that rubbed off. The drive to Crow Agency took 40 minutes. Owen parked 3 blocks away, wearing a baseball cap, carrying a toolbox to blend in. Arya had drawn him a map. 3rd floor, 2nd door, spare key in the hallway fire extinguisher case. The apartment had been ransacked. Owen moved to the bedroom closet, counting floorboards as Arya instructed. The 8th board lifted easily. Beneath it, 3 flash drives. Find what you're looking for? Owen turned slowly. A man stood in the doorway, mid-30s, tribal police uniform, hand on his holstered weapon. His nameplate read, Yazzie. Just checking the plumbing, Owen said calmly. Officer Yazzie didn't smile. Building superintendent didn't call maintenance. Try again. Owen made a split-second decision. Arya Whitehorse sent me. Yazzie stepped inside, closing the door. Where is she? Safe and innocent. Owen held up the drives. Everything's on here. The real embezzlement, the corruption. Who actually killed Thomas Redcrow? Yazzie's jaw tightened. You're asking me to believe the council lied, that Calloway is a criminal. I'm asking you to look at the evidence before an innocent woman dies. Isn't that what you swore to do? For a long moment, Yazzie said nothing. Then he reached out. Give me the drives. I'll review them tonight. If what you say is true, I'll take it to the FBI. And if you're working for Calloway, then Arya's already dead, Yazzie said bluntly. But my cousin died waiting for a clinic Calloway was supposed to build. Money disappeared. Clinic never got built. If he's stealing from us, I want him buried. Owen studied the officer's face, finding only tired anger. He handed over the drives. You've got 48 hours. Where can I reach you? Owen gave him his ranch's landline. As he left, he felt the weight of what he'd done. He'd bet Arya's life on reading a stranger's character. Officer Yazzie called at dawn. I need you and Arya at the Billings FBI office in 2 hours. Tell her to turn herself in. I'll guarantee her safety. We have enough to move. At the FBI office, they were met by 3 agents and Yazzie, whose exhausted face suggested he hadn't slept. Ms. Whitehorse, said Agent Morrison, a sharp-eyed woman in her 40s. You've uncovered one of the largest embezzlement schemes we've seen on tribal land. $7 million over 15 years. Richard Calloway used construction contracts to inflate costs and funnel money offshore. Thomas Redcrow? Arya asked. Grew a conscience too late. Calloway killed him, planted the gun, and used your documented accusations to frame you as a whistleblower turned violent. We arrested Calloway and 3 council members an hour ago, Morrison continued. Your uncle wasn't involved. All charges against you are dropped. We'd like you to testify before a grand jury. Arya's breath caught. So I'm free, Morrison confirmed. You saved your tribe from bleeding out financially. Outside the building, Arya turned to Owen. You risked everything. Why? Owen thought about Sarah, about the values she'd instilled in him. Because some things matter more than safety, justice, truth. Standing up when it's hard. I can never repay you. Don't need repayment, Owen said. Just remember that not everyone's corrupt. Some people still fight for what's right. Arya smiled genuinely. I won't forget any of it. 4 months later, Owen stood in the new Crow Tribal Community Center, watching Arya cut the ribbon. The building, funded by recovered embezzlement money, housed a health clinic, youth programs, and financial services where Arya now worked as chief financial officer. Thank you for coming, Arya said, finding him after the ceremony. She looked healthy, confident, at peace. None of this happens without you. You did the hard part, Owen said. I just helped you stay alive long enough to tell the truth. The tribe awarded me compensation from the recovered funds. I'm buying property north of your ranch, going to raise horses. Thought you might want a neighbor who understands the value of wide open spaces. Owen smiled. Sounds like a good plan. As they walked outside, Owen thought about that morning he'd found a desperate woman in his creek. He'd made a choice, to believe her, to help her, to risk everything for justice. Sometimes the people we find in unexpected moments turn out to be exactly who we need to meet. Arya had reminded him that courage was about doing the right thing despite the fear, and sometimes one person choosing to help another could change everything. The past had tried to destroy Arya Whitehorse, but the past didn't get the final word. Justice did. Truth did. And a rancher who'd chosen to see a fugitive as a person, not a headline, had helped make sure of it. As Arya drove toward her new future, Owen looked out at the Montana landscape. His wife Sarah would have been proud. He'd stood up when it mattered. Redemption wasn't just about clearing someone's name. It was about restoring faith that the world could still be made right, one brave choice at a time.